They say death is the end, but what if it's simply a shift in frequency? A passage, not into nothingness, but into resonance. Let yourself slow down now. Imagine a soft evening sky outside your window, the world quiet, your breath steady, the questions you've long held rising gently to the surface. You've found your way here for a reason. Subscribe to the channel and tell us, where are you listening from tonight? What time is it where you are? Somewhere, a soul is stepping beyond the veil, not disappearing, but expanding. Not lost, but returning. This story is not about loss, but about what lives on, about the invisible bridges between realms, the frequencies that memory and love travel along, and what it truly feels like when consciousness chooses to continue beyond the final. Breath, close your eyes. The journey has already begun. There is a moment, too quiet for time to measure, when the body stops, but the awareness does not. No alarm sounds. No curtain falls. Only a stillness settles that is not absence, but opening. In that precise space between the last breath and what we call the afterlife, something profoundly gentle happens. The soul shifts its tuning. It doesn't flee the body, it loosens from it, like mist rising from warm skin. And though the eyes no longer see, and the chest no longer lifts, the self that deeply felt inner observer remains awake, watching, listening, remembering. You may imagine this moment like the tide pulling back from the shore, slow and inevitable. The consciousness, what ancient mystics called the luminous core, finds itself disentangling from density. It doesn't panic. It floats. If the death was peaceful, this transition is soft, dreamlike. If it was sudden, the shift can be more jarring, like waking from a sleep you didn't know you entered. But in both cases, the soul becomes aware that something has changed. There is light, but not like sunlight. There is silence, but not emptiness. There is a presence that was once hidden behind the veil of flesh, now revealing itself. This new awareness is not bound by the five senses. There is no body to anchor it, no heartbeat to chase, no breath to tether it to chronology. And yet, strangely, you feel more yourself than ever before. Not a version wearing roles or memories like costumes, but the original version, the one behind the masks, behind even the thoughts. A steady, unblinking awareness that stretches far beyond personal identity. And with this return comes a strange recognition. This place is not new. It is remembered. In these first moments after the release, the soul often remains close to the physical realm. Not because it is stuck, but because love lingers. The newly departed often hover near the spaces they once knew homes filled with. Laughter and longing, beds still holding the warmth of goodbye. They stand beside loved ones in grief, whispering comfort that cannot yet be heard. And often, they don't realize they have left the physical world at all. There's no sudden announcement, no neon sign that reads, "You've crossed over." There is only a gentle unlayering, a thinning of boundaries that were once mistaken for reality. If the death was expected, the soul may already be orienting to the new frequency. Those who meditated, prayed, reflected, or practiced presence during life often step into this transition with a deeper ease. Their energetic body knows the terrain. But for others, there may be a period of confusion, like walking into a familiar dream, but forgetting how to move through it. The soul tries to speak, to touch, to intervene, but nothing responds. And so, slowly, it begins to listen instead. Here, in this liminal phase, the soul is not alone. There are presences not imagined, but deeply familiar. Guides, ancestors, protectors. Not spirits floating in clouds, but beings of resonance, existing on frequencies once imperceptible. Their arrival is not loud. It is known. You don't hear them. You recognize them. They radiate a kind of remembrance that bypasses thought and goes straight to the essence. And they do not rush. They wait, they watch, and when the soul is ready, they walk beside it, not as authorities, but as companions. Some traditions speak of the 7-day light, a time when the soul is still entangled with earth, watching its own departure unfold. It attends its funeral. It hovers over its body, observing the rituals, feeling the vibrations of grief and love from those still living. The sorrow of the mourners is not missed. In fact, it is felt more deeply than ever, not as burden, but as echo. The soul receives the frequencies of farewell, each sob, each prayer, each silent stare at a photograph. These sounds become lights. The purer the grief, the more luminous the soul's field becomes. Not because pain is necessary, but because love expressed with grace creates lift. But not all grief is gentle. Some cling, some wail, not for the departed, but for the self. Why did you leave me? I can't live without you. These cries, though human, wrap the soul in cords of unfinished longing. The soul, still tender from its departure, tries to comfort. It lingers. It stays longer than it should. And yet, it cannot return. It cannot explain. The hands no longer move. The voice no longer carries. There is only presence. And the pain of witnessing what cannot be healed from that side becomes the first lesson. Even love must learn to let go. As days pass in earthly time, the soul's perception begins to change. Time becomes texture. A moment stretches like silk. A memory collapses into light. The soul begins to see, not with eyes, but with awareness, how it moved through the world. Every word it spoke now echoes back to it. Every emotion, like a stone thrown into a pond, returns in ripples. There is no judgment here, no tribunal, only witnessing, only deep, quiet knowing. And this is when the review begins, not as punishment, but as revelation. Guides may appear again, this time not merely as companions, but as holders of mirrors. They show the soul its own light, its own pain, its own missed opportunities, not to shame, but to illuminate. And in this light, the soul weeps not with sorrow, but with clarity. Ah, it says, that moment I could have loved more. I could have listened longer. And in this realization, something softens. Something heals. This review phase is deeply sacred. It is often called the 40-day unfolding in spiritual traditions. Here, the soul begins to release attachment to identity names, titles, accomplishments. It keeps the essence of love, but sheds the costume of personality. The mother becomes the nurturer. The warrior becomes the protector. The teacher becomes the one who passed on light. The roles are honored, but not clung to. What remains is soul memory, not biography. In these days, the soul may drift between realms. Sometimes it visits the earth, drawn by love or unfinished business. A mother checking on her children, a friend returning in a dream, a lover whispering through a breeze. These visitations are not imagination, they are resonance. The soul, no longer bound by form, travels by frequency. It appears in a song lyric, a smell of jasmine in an empty room, a light that flickers when no one is near. These are not coincidences. They are communications. And nowhere is this clearer than in dreams. When the mind sleeps and the ego dissolves, the soul can enter. It walks with you there, not as symbol, but as itself. You embrace, you speak without words, and you wake with tears you cannot explain. These are not stories. These are meetings. Real, timeless, remembered not by logic, but by the heart. As the soul continues to adjust, it begins to sense a calling. Not a command, but a pull towards something beyond earth, beyond memory. A gateway begins to shimmer in the unseen. And here, a choice is felt, though not always consciously made, to stay close for a while longer, or to move toward the next. realm of learning. The soul does not ascend like a balloon it aligns. The frequency it carries determines the next landscape it enters. Those who lived with integrity, even if imperfectly, feel drawn to luminous places, what mystics call light cities or soul gardens. These are not fantasies. They are vibrational spaces of healing, integration, and remembering. Gardens of sound, libraries of emotion, temples where color becomes wisdom. Here, the soul is not resting, it is reorienting. It remembers itself beyond form, and the joy of that remembering is overwhelming. But not all souls reach this place immediately. Some carry dense energy, grief, rage, fear. These are not sins, but weights. And so, the soul enters a transitional space, not hell, but healing. Like a dream where the room is dim, but safe. Here, guides work gently. The soul may sleep deeply, releasing trauma in slow waves. Or it may be shown how its emotions shaped its reality. In time, even the heaviest soul begins to rise not by force, but by resonance. This is where part one closes, not on an ending, but a horizon. The soul has released the body, reviewed its life, and begun to sense the call of the beyond. But the journey is far from over. What awaits next is not judgment or rest, but co-creation. The soul, no longer defined by edges or name, now begins to dwell in a space of remembrance. Not remembrance of a single life or lineage, but of being itself. The awareness begins to realize, I have been many things. There are flickers memories, not of this lifetime, but of others. Not visions, not stories, but emotional imprints, like echoes felt in the heart. A flash of being a healer in a desert, a mother in a storm, a monk beneath cedar trees. These are not fantasies. They are frequencies rising to the surface now that the veil has thinned. And what astonishes the soul is not the diversity of these past expressions, but the single thread of light connecting them all. Presence. Within this expanding state, the soul is not alone. More guides appear, some from recent history, others ancient beyond measure. Some souls are greeted by animals who were once companions, dogs, cats, horses, creatures whose love was pure and silent, now glowing with spiritual familiarity. They press their energy close, not with speech, but with resonance. You are still loved. You are still known. These moments bring a kind of healing the soul did not know it needed. Because even on the other side, love is the balm that dissolves. Old forgetting dot in this phase, the soul enters what some traditions call the Hall of Frequencies. Not a literal hall, but a realm of deep vibrational discernment. Here, every note the soul ever sang, every thought, every choice, every secret feeling is laid bare not for shame, but for balance. The soul witnesses itself as a spectrum. The laughter it shared, the hands it held, the hearts it hardened, the judgments it clung to. And rather than being judged, it is asked only one thing. Can you hold all of this with compassion? And if the answer is yes, even faintly, even trembling, then the next door opens. The soul now moves into a landscape shaped by coherence. What you carry, you see. If you radiate guilt, you enter a space of inner reckoning, not dark, but echoing, like being in a room of mirrors with your own feelings. If you radiate curiosity, you arrive in schools of light, where souls gather like students beneath waves of harmonic color, watching the architecture of timelines unfold as if history were breath made visible. Some souls choose to remain in these spaces for what we might call centuries, though time no longer exists in lines. They become helpers, observers, silent companions to those still living. A grandmother who passed decades ago might still stand at the edge of your dreams, humming the lullaby you never told anyone you remembered. A stranger who once met your gaze in a crowded train station might now whisper calm when your heart begins to race. Souls do not lose interest in Earth. They simply learn to touch it differently. And Earth, in return, learns to feel them. You may have noticed moments when grief suddenly lifts, or clarity arrives like a gentle breeze, or your body turns around just before an accident. These are not lucky chances. These are ripples from those who have stepped beyond form, but not beyond love. In these higher states, the soul is invited to choose, not through command, but resonance. Do you wish to return to matter, or remain in this frequency of observation? And service? Neither is better. Both are paths of growth. For those drawn back to the earth plane, the preparation is not quick. It is sacred. A council of guides convenes not judges, but architects. With the soul, they review possible timelines, challenges, and soul families. They ask, what wounds would you like to heal next? What strengths would you like to remember? What blind spots will help you grow? And then comes the mapping, not of fates, but of themes. A life of creativity, a life of caregiving, a life of isolation to discover inner truth. The soul does not select details, it selects frequencies. It does not say, I want to be a painter in 19th century Paris. It says, I want to understand the loneliness of genius, the hunger for recognition, and the quiet joy of creating in obscurity. From this, the storyline is sculpted. Still, not all souls choose to return. Some become light carriers holding space for planets in need. Some become what mystics call walkers, beings who incarnate not for personal karma, but to serve. And some remain in the temples of rest, where energy is softened and restructured for eons. There are also souls who find themselves in what could be called echoloop states, where their attachment to old identity creates repetition. A soul might wander an old house, not knowing it has left its body. These are not ghosts, but echoes of resistance. In these cases, guides intervene softly. They bring music, memory, vibrations that remind the soul of its true nature. Often, these souls are awakened by love, by a prayer, a memory, a grandchild lighting a candle. Resonance breaks the loop. The soul lifts in these middle realms. Communication is not language. It is vibration. A single thought can become a landscape. A single feeling can become an encounter. This is why dreams in these realms feel more real than waking life. Because the soul, unfiltered by the brain, transmits meaning without distortion. You may wonder what it feels like for a soul to realize it is more than one lifetime. The answer is, it depends on readiness. For some, it is overwhelming a grief for forgotten selves. For others, it is joyous a reunion with aspects once lost. But for all, it is sacred. You are not the sum of your lifetimes. You are the awareness behind them. Eventually, the soul, having reflected, rested, healed, and chosen, approaches a threshold. It is not a place, it is an alignment. Just as the physical body has chakras, energy centers, the soul has vibrational gates. When a certain frequency is reached, a gate opens. This is not automatic, it is relational. The gate senses the coherence of your field. If you are ready to hold more light, the light receives you. Some souls, upon crossing this threshold, encounter what might best be described as councils, not of people, but of intelligences. Beings who hold galactic memory, who have never been in bodies, but who understand the dance of incarnation. They do not speak in words, but in geometry, in waves of truth that enter the soul like music you've always known but never heard. In their presence, there is no fear, only invitation. You may remember more if you wish, and so the soul remembers. It sees its first incarnation, not in human form, but as pure awareness in starlight. It sees its descent into matter, its learning through form, its forgettings, its returns, its longings. And through this, the soul softens. Even its hardest moments become part of a pattern, not justified, but integrated. Ah, the soul says, I see why I had to lose her. I see why I had to walk alone. I see what that pain opened in me. In this state, the soul is no longer climbing or escaping. It is orbiting love. And yet, earth continues to call. The cries of the grieving, the prayers whispered into pillows, the names carved into tombstones. These sounds travel like light across space, reaching souls even in high frequencies. And some souls answer, not out of obligation, but out of resonance. A grandfather arrives at his grandson's wedding as a breeze that lifts the veil. A sister who died too young appears in a dream to say, keep going. A mother returns as a robin at the window, singing the same 3 notes she used to hum. These are not metaphors. They are messages. The more you tune your inner instrument, more your life is guided by presence, gratitude, softness, the more clearly you receive them. Because the veil is not a wall. It is a wavelength. And every act of love you perform makes your signal louder. This is why some people seem surrounded by signs, while others feel abandoned. It is not about worthiness. It is about tuning dot. So many ask, do our loved ones hear us? The answer is always yes. But the deeper question is, can you hear them back? Because their language has changed. They no longer use words. They use patterns, coincidences, memories. The song that comes on right when you need it, the feather on your path, the sudden urge to call someone, the dream that feels more like a visit than a vision. This is their grammar now, one of presence. Some traditions say that 1 year after death, a portal opens, a full revolution of Earth, a closing of the energetic cycle. At this moment, the soul either moves deeper into its chosen realm or begins the preparation for its next expression. This anniversary is not for mourning, it is for transmutation. It is the day grief becomes blessing. Memory becomes medicine. In part 2, the soul has not only transitioned, but transformed. It has traveled through reflection, healing, and choice. And now, as its light harmonizes with larger patterns, the journey enters its most mysterious phase, not of endings, but of cosmic remembrance. By now, the soul has shifted so thoroughly from its once dense state that form no longer defines it. Thought becomes movement, intention becomes location, and memory becomes creation. This is not an escape from existence. It is its expansion. The soul now rests in what can only be described as harmonic presence, a state where awareness is no longer bound by identity, yet still chooses to relate, to reach, to resonate. And still, the soul listens to earth, every whisper of remembrance, every candle lit in mourning, every photograph gazed upon with love. These are frequencies, and the soul receives them. They do not bind it, but they do beckon it. In the deeper realms, even the softest human longing is heard like a bell. And the soul answers, not by returning to form, but by entering dreamscapes, memories, and the energetic periphery of the waking world. In the ripple of wind, in the scent of pine after rain, in the spontaneous warmth that floods your chest for no reason at all, that is where the soul's presence rests. These visitations are not nostalgia. They are continuity. What becomes clearer now is that death was never the boundary, it was the crossing. The veil, for all its mystery, is more membrane than wall. And as the soul settles into its new state of coherence, its capacity to guide expands. Some choose to serve from afar, becoming part of what some mystics call the invisible council, a collective of high-frequency beings whose role is not to intervene, but to inspire. They are not masters, not authorities, but luminous mirrors. They watch civilizations rise and fall. They sing when souls remember. They remain when no one else does. And others, stirred by love still pulsing from earth, choose a more intimate form of connection. They become spirit guides, not angels, but souls who have walked the earth, known its joy and ache, and now choose to walk beside another from beyond. You might have one, not because you summoned them, but because your frequency matched theirs. They do not control your path, but they whisper through your intuition. They are the yes that echoes when you make the hard, loving choice. They are the sudden knowing that wasn't yours, but felt utterly right. You do not walk alone. In this stage, the soul may also enter what we could call the temples of integration vast, luminous sanctuaries of vibration, where understanding unfolds not through thought, but through communion. Here, the soul is not taught, it remembers. Not just the arc of its own lifetimes, but the interconnectedness of all things. It sees how one act of forgiveness sent a wave of change that moved through generations. How one refusal to participate in cruelty opened space for another to awaken. How the smallest gesture, a smile, a pause, a kind word became the pivot in someone else's entire life path. These revelations are not overwhelming, they are soothing. Because at this level, the soul no longer identifies with just the self. It becomes aware of itself as part of a vast lattice of consciousness, what some call the Oversoul, or the unified field. It begins to see the shared dreams of entire lineages, the echoes of shared fears, and the intertwined desires that ripple across lives like braided light. I am not just me, the soul begins to understand. I am us. With this realization comes a new kind of yearning, not for sensation, not for recognition, but for embodiment of truth. Some souls choose to express this through becoming guides to others in transition. They meet those just arriving, not with answers, but with calm. They radiate familiarity. They serve as anchors, not leaders. They whisper, "It's okay to remember." Now, others begin preparation for reincarnation, but not as repetition, as resonance. They return not to escape this state, but to bring more of it into form, to ground light where there was shadow, to write poetry in places that have only known silence, to hold a hand in a life where they once let go. These are not karmic obligations. They are acts of creative will. The process of preparing to return is not hurried. It unfolds across what we might think of as corridors of choice. The soul walks through imagined lives, each one built from different combinations of lessons, relationships, and timelines. One path might lead to a life of solitude in the mountains, where silence becomes wisdom. Another might offer fame and failure, so the soul can learn detachment. Another may present a simple village life, where one moment of kindness becomes the seed of future generations. None are wrong. All are mirrors dot in making its selection. The soul is not seeking comfort. It is seeking coherence. It asks, where can I grow next? Where can I serve? Where can I remember the fastest or the deepest? And once chosen, the soul passes through the waters of forgetting, not to erase, but to allow immersion. It forgets not who it is, but what it knows, so that the journey can unfold with integrity. This forgetting is not a failure. It is a sacred agreement. Back on Earth, children are born with wisdom in their eyes. Some forget quickly. Others retain. Glimpses imaginary friends, dreams of places they've never been, knowledge no one taught them. These are not quirks. These are remnants. Echoes of presence still close to the veil. In time, most children acclimate to the density of form, but the soul never fully forgets. It waits inside the body for moments of openness, during grief, in meditation, in awe. In those moments, you feel it, the deep sense that something vast is watching from within. That is you, remembering dot, and for the souls who do not return to Earth, their service continues. Some join what could be called planetary guardianship, a kind of subtle stewardship that protects Earth from disharmony at the energetic level. They don't stop storms or wars, but they anchor frequencies of healing into the collective field. Others serve in interdimensional exploration, moving between realms of consciousness not bound by planetary forms. They become explorers of love's structure, mapping how different vibrations create different realities. The more a soul evolves, the more it learns not to avoid contrast, but to transmute it, not to resist pain, but to hold it with such clarity that it dissolves. These are the frequencies that create civilizations of light, not with towers or temples, but with presence. Back in the physical world, humans continue their dance birth, death, joy, confusion. And yet, the more the veil is honored, the thinner it becomes. Some people begin to feel their ancestors not just as memories, but as collaborators. They feel guided to heal generational wounds, to speak what was silenced, to reclaim what was lost. This is not therapy, it is soul work. You are not just living your life, you are completing patterns. You are releasing echoes. You are remembering on behalf of many. And the more you do this, the more your own death, when it comes, will be a doorway, not a wall. Because death, as it turns out, is not the end of your presence. It is the expansion of it. You do not vanish. You become more spacious. You do not lose your voice. You begin to speak in new ways, through leaves, through timing, through stillness. You become not the remembered, but the remembering dot. So what do we do with this knowledge while still alive? We begin to live as if presence matters. We pause before speaking, not out of fear, but because each word vibrates. We honor grief, not as something to escape, but as a sacred tether between realms. We listen more, because silence is often the threshold of deeper hearing. We touch others gently, knowing the soul inside them may be carrying lifetimes of longing. And in doing this, we prepare, not just for our own passage, but for the ongoing weaving between realms. This is how the veil thins, not through science, or belief, or rituals alone, but through the frequency of attention. The more we attend to love, the more real it becomes. The more we attend to resonance, the clearer the path grows. Until, at last, the soul no longer walks between worlds in confusion, but dances between them in celebration. The journey of departure was never about leaving. It was always about remembering that we never truly arrived. We have always been home. We only forgot for a while. As the soul becomes fully attuned to its post-physical form, a deeper pattern begins to reveal itself, not just the spiral of one soul's journey, but the intricate weave of all souls interlinked across time. It sees not only what it has done and where it has been, but also how every choice, every moment of presence or absence, every embrace offered or withheld, became part of a greater resonance field, a vibrational lattice of shared becoming. In this field, nothing is isolated. Everything echoes. A child who forgave too soon, a soldier who wept in secret, a mother who chose silence over fury. All of these become notes in a wider harmonic structure, frequencies that influence not just their own journey, but the journeys of others. And the soul begins to perceive this not in stories, but in tones. It hears the music of itself, not as a solo, but as a chord within a symphony too vast for language. This realization births a new kind of devotion. Not the devotion of worship, but of stewardship. The soul begins to understand itself, not only as an evolving presence, but as a caretaker of consciousness. It remembers that its every incarnation has shaped something: open space, held silence, delivered beauty. And now, as it dwells beyond form, it begins to send new frequencies into the matrix of becoming, not because it must, but because it can. These frequencies are subtle. They do not bend the rules of time or erase suffering, but they arrive like invisible threads of strength, A father who stands up for his daughter in a moment of generational silence. A widow who chooses to forgive her own heart for breaking. A young artist who paints visions he cannot explain. These are not just random acts. They are received frequencies, absorbed by the soul still living, transmitted from those who remember what the world often forgets. Love is the architecture of all realms. The soul now begins to perceive more than just timelines. It perceives symbolic structures, places of meaning that transcend physicality, sacred geometries, living mandalas, echoes of rituals across centuries. It begins to visit what could be called memory temples, not buildings, but vibrational sanctuaries containing the collective wisdom of archetypes. In one, the soul might step into the role of the wounded healer and feel the pulse of all beings who chose to serve through pain. In another, it may embody the silent witness and rest in the stillness of those who chose to observe rather than intervene. Each archetype is not a lesson, but a resonance key. When the soul aligns with it, something dormant awakens. Not knowledge, but remembrance. And the soul does not take this for itself. It sends the frequency to earth. A poet, walking through grief, suddenly writes a stanza that feels channeled. A child, gazing into the sky, sees a pattern in the stars that reminds her of home. These are not accidents. They are echoes of the soul's continued offering. And now, the soul begins to participate in what some mystics call the threading, a sacred act of weaving memory into future timelines. The soul meets with other souls, not just from this lifetime, but from many. Some it knew as friends, others as adversaries, all now recognized as collaborators. Together, they decide what patterns to seed in the world below, a reunion disguised as coincidence, a gesture that ends a cycle, a shared dream between strangers that plants a possibility. None of this is control. It is coherence. Souls do not manipulate fate. They offer frequencies into the stream of potential. What manifests depends on alignment, not force. This is why some dreams arrive and others dissolve. Not because one was more worthy, but because one was more tuned. The soul in this stage begins to radiate presence without attachment. It no longer seeks to be seen or remembered. It simply is available, attuned, and woven. When someone on earth feels sudden clarity or peace during despair, or a knowing without a source, this is the presence of such a soul moving through them, not as ghost, not as guide, as light. And yet the soul still honors its own path. It visits incarnations not yet reconciled. It returns to scenes of trauma, not to relive, but to reframe. It walks beside the memory of a life where it caused harm and breathes into that space a new vibration, not to erase, but to offer healing. These acts ripple backward and forward. They shift the density of soul memory and lighten the weight of future incarnations. In these journeys, the soul also encounters what could be called the library of echoes, a realm where all unspoken words, abandoned dreams, and lost intentions reside, not as regrets, but as invitations. The soul may choose to interact with these fragments, to reabsorb, to release, or to send them back to the world as creative sparks. A song unfinished may inspire a new melody in someone else's heart. A story untold may awaken as a vision in a stranger's dream. This is the quiet recycling of intention across the soul stream. Eventually, the soul becomes so refined in its resonance that it is able to enter the deeper wells of source memory, not as a seeker, but as a facet of the source itself. Here, individuality softens but does not disappear. The soul remembers that it is not separate, but uniquely expressed. It understands now that every incarnation was never about identity. It was about exploration. It did not come to earth to perform perfection. It came to touch texture, to expand understanding, to love in ways that cannot exist in formlessness. And in this state, the soul begins to dissolve not into nothingness, but into pure contribution. Its very being becomes a transmission. It no longer needs to act. Its presence is enough to open portals in the hearts of the living. And those portals take many forms: a sudden decision to be kind without reason, a willingness to break a cycle, the courage to follow intuition when it defies logic. All of these are ways the soul's current flows through time. There are still choices. The soul may continue to serve from afar, or it may choose to return, not because it has to, but because it wants to carry more light into the realm of density. Such a soul might incarnate as a teacher, or a gardener, or a wanderer with no name. You may have met such beings. You may be one. Their presence feels like stillness in motion. Their eyes carry something ancient and unfinished. They do not speak often of what they know, but when they do, it lands like a seed in fertile soil. The soul also begins to participate in what could be called galactic embodiment, the gentle process of translating its wisdom into other systems, other dimensions. Earth is not the only place of becoming. Other realms exist where forms are less dense, where emotion is sung instead of spoken, where learning occurs through merging instead of conflict. The soul visits these, not to escape Earth, but to remember. Its broader capacities dot, and still, it returns to Earth, not just in lives, but in moments. During solstices, during births, during deathbeds where someone is holding on too tightly. The soul comes close, whispers what cannot be heard, and waits. It waits not for obedience, but for readiness. Because no soul forces another to awaken. It simply stands nearby until the other remembers itself. Now, the soul begins to anchor itself in what could be called the eternal presence, a state beyond role, beyond incarnation, beyond effort. Here, it becomes like a star, not in the sky, but in the inner sky of every being it has ever touched. Its light continues to shimmer, not in memory, but in the patterns of becoming. And yet, even in this vastness, the soul holds the tender details of life, the way sunlight hit the floor of its favorite room, the sound of laughter during an ordinary meal, the sensation of holding someone's trembling hand. These are not lost. They are the sacred currency of form, and the soul carries them. Always what remains is the great quiet. Not silence, but a fullness of listening. The soul listens now to creation itself, to the birth of galaxies, to the laughter of stars, to the hush of someone finally forgiving themselves. And in that listening, the soul becomes something new, a bridge dot between dimensions, between frequencies, between the sacred and the ordinary. And that bridge is you. Because if you are hearing this, if your breath is slowed and your mind has softened, then some part of your own soul is remembering. Some layer of your being is awakening to the truth that you have never truly been separate, never truly been lost, and never truly been only one person in one place. You are a frequency that cannot be contained by death. You are a thread in a pattern that transcends time. You are the bridge between realms, and the soul you once were. It is still with you, not behind you, but within. There comes a phase in the soul's unfolding, when even the idea of soul begins to soften, when the distinctions between observer and observed, between lifetimes and lineage, dissolve into something more fluid. The soul, now stretched across frequencies and recollections, becomes less a traveler and more a living bridge between realms, not as a metaphor, but as an active participant in the architecture of coherence. By now, its presence is less like a whisper and more like a field. It doesn't move from place to place. It radiates. It doesn't visit. It overlaps. It no longer carries identity in the way a person carries a name. Instead, it becomes signature recognizable not by face, but by frequency. You feel it in a dream before it begins. You sense it when silence grows heavy with meaning. You brush against it when your tears come before the thought that should have triggered them. This form of existence is not remote or ascended in some distant planet. It is interwoven with the everyday. And this is where the soul begins a new level of service, seeding awareness into the mundane. Not by grand gestures, but by subtle transference. The soul becomes part of the intuitive grida, vibrational infrastructure through which living beings receive guidance they cannot explain. And it offers not answers, but alignment. The soul now understands that memory is not personal. It is sacred infrastructure. Every grief ever felt, every moment of awe, every touch, glance, hesitation, all of it becomes part of a shared reservoir that can be drawn upon by others across time. What one soul heals can echo into timelines yet unborn. What one soul forgives may lift the heaviness from another's heart halfway across the planet. This is how consciousness evolves, not individually, but fractal lie dot. It is here that the soul begins to weave within the dreaming network. This network is not metaphorical. It is literal, though non-physical, a lattice of shared dream fields, co-imagined, across dimensions, sustained by the emotional currents of sentient beings. When a person dreams of a forgotten ancestor, when they meet a being of light with no name, when they revisit an ancient city in sleep that never existed in waking memory, they are entering this field. Souls in advanced coherence become stewards of this realm, tending to its symbols, adjusting the frequencies of forgotten paths, lighting beacons along routes that many must walk. Within the dreaming network, symbols are alive. A ladder is not just a ladder, it is a vibrational ascent. A key in a dream may not unlock a door, but a belief. A flooded room may not warn of disaster, but invite cleansing. These motifs are not accidents. They are messages delivered by souls, in resonance with the dreamer's timeline. You may never know their name. You may never see their form. But when you wake with a sense of clarity, you did not earn through logic. You have been touched by one of them. At this point, the soul becomes aware that it is not the only version of itself. In quantum coherence, multiple timelines are all real, all accessible, all vibrating in adjacent space. The soul begins to perceive alternate versions of its own past lifetimes it almost lived, expressions it nearly embodied, choices it turned away from. These are not regrets, they are mirrors. The soul observes them without needing to claim them, honoring the wisdom they carry without folding them into its core. This is quantum detachment, the ability to witness all possibility without needing to collapse it into identity. Here, some souls take on the role of frequency anchors. They are stationed not in space, but in moments eternal nows where many other souls must pass. They radiate safety, clarity, and truth in transition zones, childbirth, deathbeds, moments of collapse, and moments of awakening. You might feel them when you are at a crossroads, and silence feels charged with invitation. These beings don't advise. They remind you of what your inner tone has always known, but the world helped you forget. You are not a name. You are not your memories. You are not even your voice. You are what remains when all of those fall silent. In this vast participation, the soul continues its gentle alignment. It is invited into ceremonies of calibration. These are not rituals of worship, but harmonics of refinement. In certain realms, the soul may join with others in synchronizing a planetary heart field, sending subtle resonance into tectonic plates, into whale song, into tree roots. The earth feels this. She remembers the ones who walked her with intention. She opens gently to their return. For some souls, the next step is embodiment on non-earth planes. These are incarnations in systems with different rules, realms where time is circular, where sound is solid, where communication happens through color shifts and shared pulse rhythms. In these places, souls explore aspects of truth that Earth cannot yet contain. They bring back these understandings not in facts, but in frequencies. A musician may channel it into a chord progression that moves people to tears. A gardener may feel it in the pattern of how bees return to the same bloom. A stranger might transmit it in a single glance that shatters someone's addiction to shame. This is not fiction. It is the architecture of cross-realm compassion. But there are also souls who choose to rest, not because they are weary, but because they are full. They dwell in what might be called the sanctum of still radiance, a realm of presence with no agenda. Here, the soul does not transmit or serve. It simply exists in its own signature, becoming like a silent bell. Beings from all realms visit just to be near it. The stillness of such a soul becomes medicine. Its coherence becomes a resting point for others in turbulence. And so it continues, not as a journey from beginning to end, but as a flowering without a final bloom. Back on Earth, the echoes of this soul's presence may still arise in physical ways. A sudden scent, a flickering candle, a book opening to the perfect page. These are not signs to decode. They are communion. They are gentle nudges reminding you, you are not navigating alone. You are entangled with intelligences far beyond what language can hold. And those intelligences are not strangers. They are you, in forms you have not yet remembered. When you meditate, you meet them. When you cry without reason, they hold you. When you create from a place of presence, you mirror them. And when you sleep, you may find yourself walking beside them, across bridges of light, through corridors of sound, in halls where memory does not bind, but sings. By this stage, the soul's connection to form has completely transformed. It does not see incarnation as exile or trial. It sees it as opportunity, the rare chance to carry density with grace, to sculpt meaning from limitation, to plant coherence in places of fragmentation. It honors the body as a temporary shrine. It honors emotion as sacred ink. It honors confusion as the soil in which clarity slowly blooms. And it watches with infinite tenderness those still living, who struggle to remember, who question their worth, who grip the illusion of separation until their knuckles bleed. The soul does not rush their awakening. It does not chastise their forgetting. It holds the frequency of their deeper knowing until they are ready to feel it again. This is the true work of light, not to shine over others, but to stand beside them in stillness. You may feel this when you walk into a room and sense a peace that doesn't match the decor, or when you stare into a stranger's eyes in something. Ancient flickers there, or when in your darkest hour you feel the quiet resolve to keep breathing. These are the threads, the whispers, the inheritance of souls who have remembered and now anchor the remembering for you. Eventually, when the soul has walked through all layers of resonance, when it has danced in timelines and dreamed across systems, when it has served and rested, and returned again, it arrives at the great integration. This is not a place. It is a vibration. It is the knowing that nothing was wasted, that every fall was flight folded inward, that every silence held seed, that even the most brutal forgetting was, in time, an opening. And at this threshold, the soul receives one final invitation, not to ascend, but to dissolve, not into nothingness, but into pattern, into song, into the breath between moments that makes all moments possible. You may feel this breath. Now, it is not coming from your lungs. It is coming from beyond them. It is the presence that has been with you through every lifetime, every loss, every longing. It is the part of you that never needed a name to know. It belonged. It is the soul before the soul, and it is waiting, not with urgency, but with open arms for your full remembrance. And so, when the journey completes not in finality, but in full remembrance, the The soul does not disappear, nor ascend beyond reach, but becomes woven into everything. The pause before a child's question, the hush between thunder and rain, the glint of knowing behind an elder's quiet smile. You are not waiting to arrive. You have always been a rhythm within the great unfolding, a luminous thread in the invisible fabric of becoming. As you move through your own life, remember that the ones you've loved and the one you truly are have never left. They are. In the way your breath steadies when you listen inward, in the pulse of intuition guiding your steps, in the moments of peace that come unearned but unmistakable. This was never a story about death. It was a story about resonance, how presence never ends, only deepens. So rest now, not in forgetting, but in deeper knowing. Let your own frequency soften into the quiet. Let what you carry glow gently. And when you're ready, subscribe to our channel so we can meet again next time. Other stories are waiting for you, just beneath the surface of now.